Westwood One presents America at Night. Here's your host, McGraw Milhaven.
Hey, thanks for joining us. It's a Monday night, the week between Christmas and New Year's, where things sort of slow down a little bit, but we are here helping you enjoy the evening. So first off, thanks for joining us here on America at Night. Coming up in hour number 2, we're going to talk with the chairperson of the Texas Republican Legacy, the Texas chair of Our Republican Legacy. It's an organization, a group that is trying to take back the Republican Party back to its Ronald Reagan roots. So we'll check in with Merrill Matthews in hour number 2. And, of course, hour number 3 is all about phone calls. But this first hour, we're going to, a lot of talk has been made about the immigration and ICE officials and the numbers. And not a lot has been made about the actual stories, the people behind the actual numbers and behind the actual stories. And so wherever you stand on immigration, there are people who are being affected by this, good and bad. And our guest this hour is a mother of 2, an American citizen who is joining us because her husband, Alejandro, sits in jail waiting to be deported. Janie Perez, thanks for joining us here on America at Night.
Thanks for having me, McGraw.
All right, let's get right to it. Let's tell your story. You are born and raised as a United States citizen. You come from a long line. Your family came. I joke about this, but I mean, does your family go all the way back to the Mayflower or just partially back to the Mayflower?
What year was that?
Well, 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue.
Well, maybe not that far, but like the 1600s, I've got family who came over from England, and then in the 1800s, also from Germany, and who, basically helped build St. Louis. So we do go way back. Not that far back, but way back.
Okay. And so this story, let's start this story when you meet this nice boy, Alejandro. You meet him, you're working at a restaurant here, and you meet him and you fall in love. Is that correct?
Of course, yes. I wouldn't just fall in love with any Joe Schmo. So he was special.
He was special. You fall in love, and you and him are very religious, right? Part of your bond is your love and your faith together. Is that not true?
Yes, and my faith has always been super important to me. So I would not want anything less from a partner in life. So that was a big thing. Even we grew up from different roots. So he was Roman Catholic, and I was born into a Presbyterian family. But we have a simple faith together, and we believe in the same God and are so firm in that. And that's what connected us in the beginning.
And so when you started dating him, you knew he was in this country without documents, correct? You knew he was in this country illegally, correct?
Well, I probably fell in love without asking those questions first, but then came to realize, there are some big things that I am not aware of. And so my eyes were not totally opened at that point yet, to be honest.
And when did you meet him?
In 2019.
And then you were married when? When were you married?
COVID wedding, 2020, summer of 2020.
20 is 20. And so when you got married, you knew he was an undocumented immigrant. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
We went, yeah. Okay.
Tell his story real quick. How did he end up in this country? Why did he come to this country in the first place?
Well, when you're, 15, 16 years old, no matter what country you're in, you're starting to think about your future, what you want to do. And when he grew up in Mexico, he really had 2 options. And those options were A, to work for a drug cartel and, have to show your loyalty to them. And they might say, hey, for your first job, go shoot your grandpa or something. Or cross to America and work, even if that's illegal. And so he chose to not work for a drug cartel, which that was what ran his state in Mexico. And he chose to come here and has been working in St. Louis specifically ever since then, doing all the good things that most other people do here.
So how does he cross? How does he get to America? Does he cross the Rio Grande? What was his journey like into this country?
Oh, it was a lengthy process from from my understanding. It is detailed and more confusing than I even realized. But they he walked and ran a lot. He was with a group of people. Nothing pretty. They ran out of water. They ran out of food.
When he came to America, did he turn himself in? Did he register with the authorities? Was he trying to hide from the authorities? Explain that process as much as you can.
You know what? I don't know if I will be able to answer that just because I don't totally know. I don't even know if he's been able to voice that to me.
Gotcha. Well, we do know we do know that he had a tax ID number, right, given to him by the federal government.
Yes, that is true.
And he does have a Social Security number, does he not, or some type of?
Yes. We were able to get him a work permit and Social Security.
And you and him filed joint taxes together, did you not?
Yes, ever since we were engaged to be married, and after we were married in 2020, we've been doing that every year.
So one of the questions I know people have, Janie Perez, is once an undocumented worker marries an American, I thought there was an easier way to become, quote unquote, legal in this country. Did you sort of work on trying to make him legal in this country?
100%. I mean, my family, we are rule followers. And so this was once we knew that this was a thing that we were going to have to do, since I was committed to him, we were like, okay, what are all the steps we need to do to make this right? Because we knew he came here, quote unquote, not, legally. And so we went to a lawyer right when we were dating, and we were like, hey, how can we make this happen? We wanted to make him a citizen. We thought it was simple too. And it turned into be a more complicated process. Had to get, opinions from multiple lawyers, and they were like, with the laws that are now in our country, he has no ability to have status here as a citizen until things change. So keep flying under the radar, and he's not one that they're going to go look for because he has no criminal record. And so that was a big thing. We were like, okay, he's not one of the worst that they said they were going after.
Janie Perez, our guest, is our guest, an American citizen married to an undocumented worker who now sits in jail. You have two children, a 3-year-old, is that correct? And a 1-year-old?
1-year-old, 3.5 and 1. Yep.
One.
That's
and
correct.
They are American citizens.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This all changed in October. I want you to tell us what happened in October. Janie Perez is our guest. Hold that thought. Let me take a break. I want to give you plenty of time to tell us what happened in October when your husband, Alejandro, showed up for work. Janie Perez, our guest, and mother of two. Immigration is a big topic of conversation. She is one of the ones who life has been upended because of our crackdown in this country on undocumented workers. Janie Perez, our guest. More in a moment. America at Night.
From the heart of America, this is America at Night with McGraw Milhaven. This is America at Night with McGraw Milhaven.
Lots of talk about immigration, but how often do we hear from the people it affects? Janie Perez is our guest. She's a mother of two. She's an American citizen. She married an undocumented immigrant, and he now sits in jail. Janie, before we tell us what happened back in October, I just want to reiterate, you mentioned he got a work permit. So the state he was in or the country gave him permission to work, and then the company had permission to hire him. Is that how that works?
Yep, that's how it works.
Okay, so he was working legally, working for a company in October, and tell us what happened.
So on October 23rd, he left the house at about 6:40 in the morning, and just about 10 minutes later, I got a call from him. He said, "Janie, I think ICE is here. They followed me to work." And sure enough, a car was sitting outside of our house in the wee hours of the morning in our little cul-de-sac. And they did follow him to work. And I was on the phone and I overheard them say, "Alejandro Perez, we have a warrant out for your arrest." And he hung up. And I immediately had the biggest panic attack because this is our worst nightmare. And we were so blindsided by this. Truly.
So, what happened next?
So I, I had a panic attack because I struggle with severe anxiety, and my 3-year-old daughter is witnessing this. So I immediately called my mom, or I ran downstairs. My parents live in my basement when they're here in St. Louis. I ran downstairs, in panic, crying, fell on my knees, and then we were just scrambling. We're like, what do we do now? And there's many details within this, but long story short, I had to get his things from downtown. We hired the best immigration lawyer here in St. Louis. And we learned that Alejandro was taken to St. Genevieve Detention Center. He's not there anymore. He traveled around a couple different times. So he's in Illinois at Jefferson County Jail, awaiting a trial or awaiting a court, not a trial, hearing on January 9th.
January 9th, in which you expect him to be deported on January 9th? Or shortly thereafter?
No, this is a plea hearing. I think that's what it's called. So I think we still have a few more months of waiting till all this court stuff is finished, and then he'll probably have time served and then be deported.
Gotcha. And what are the immigration? Well, first of all, what is he charged? He's guilty of crossing
re-entry.
Go ahead.
Re-entry into the U.S. So that's and it turned into a federal crime, and I don't know why Alejandro, a good person, was chosen to, have his case turn into that. But
yeah,
here we are.
So, do you get to speak with him? Do you get to talk with him? Do you get to text him, call him?
Thank goodness. The place he's at, we have access to video calls and messaging. So I schedule 3 calls a day, mostly so he can see his daughters. Yes, it's good for both of our hearts, but so his 1-year-old daughter and 3-year-old daughter can remember him. And it is wild. Last month, we looked at our bank statement, and just communicating with Alejandro was over $1,500. It is just wildly expensive.
Because they charge you to talk to him?
Oh yeah. I think I use at least $30 to speak with him in one way, shape, or form every day, and that's worth it to us. Even snacks, we have to provide snacks for him with commissary, toilet paper. Everything is crazy expensive. Jail is not free.
What was Christmas like?
Depressing. We were very, very sad this year. The girls don't know, didn't understand much difference. But at the same time, we had a 20-minute call with Alejandro in the morning, and he was able to see the girls open some presents that I had, said were from Daddy. We have our family Christmas picture in front of the Christmas tree with Alejandro in a jail cell on the phone. So we didn't want to miss that opportunity to document it, but it is very sad, the reality of this. And no Christmas spirit, really. We were all just pretty melancholy all day. And Alejandro didn't even want us to talk about Christmas. He didn't want us to say Merry Christmas or anything like that to him.
How are his spirits?
Oh, it is a roller coaster. Thankfully he's not. I'm reminding myself he's not dead, but it is a grief roller coaster. And he is up and down with his spirits, but his eyes are fixed on Jesus. This experience has opened his eyes to know God so deeply, more than he ever has before. And so even in this suffering, we never wanted this to happen. It's our worst nightmare. But God is using this to turn our eyes up. And I mean, that's the whole point of life, in my opinion, in my worldview. And so he, with that in his head and heart, God is using this for good, even though it is still painful and sad every single day because he is apart from our family.
So while some people might say, why is God doing this? What kind of God would treat me like this? He has internalized it and gotten closer with Jesus, is what you're saying.
Oh, 100%. I mean, in the Bible, and I forget what passage it is, but they say, I think it was Paul, he says, count it all joy when you experience trials of various kinds, because it produces spiritual maturity and steadfastness and contentment with Christ. And Alejandra and I tell that to each other every day. Yeah, that yes, we miss each other. This is so hard, but God is using this for good because God is good. And so truly without this worldview that we have with Jesus in our hearts, like, I don't know how we would be getting through.
Janie Perez, hold that thought. We have lots more to get to because, as you said, he is about to be deported, and you have to make a decision with you and your two children who are American citizens. Janie Perez is a mother married to a undocumented worker who was arrested in October and is now sitting in jail waiting for the courts to convict him and send him out of the country. His crime, re-entering the United States of America. He left in 2010. He fled he had a choice, join the Mexican cartel or move. And so he hightailed it to the United States of America. Janie Perez is our guest. Hold that thought. Lots more to get to. It is America at Night. Back him on.
You're listening to America at Night with McGraw Milhaven. This is America at Night with McGraw Milhaven.
Janie Perez is our guest. She is an American citizen married to Alejandro, who is an undocumented immigrant, came to this country in 2010. They were married in 2019, and in October, after getting a work permit, a tax ID number, and filing joint tax returns, ICE picked him up in October. He is now sitting in jail waiting to be deported. Janie Perez, what happens now? Are you going to go to Mexico once he is deported?
Yes. If that's how this turns out, which there's a 99.9% chance that he will get deported, and we are praying that we will find a place that is the safest possible for our family of four, especially with me being a gringo with my two little white-looking girls. We're definitely nervous to be in that realm of and living in Mexico, just knowing the safety of certain places, but we will choose the best option. But we are uprooting our whole lives here. I mean, I have not lived anywhere else. I've got my community here. I'm a licensed Missouri registered dietitian. So I'm going to have to figure that out. There's so many moving factors here.
You could they're not deporting you or your children. You could stay here.
I could. You're right. However, I believe in being committed in all way, shape, and form being married. So I will follow Alejandro because I love him more than anything, and his girls love him more than anything, and we will be together. So we will make that happen. And he can fly many places in the world, so we will choose a place that we are all happy with, content with, but it's going to be a very hard transition for all of us.
So you take your vow through thick and through thin, through richer for poorer, for better for worse. You take that vow seriously. Yeah.
Of course. Yes.
Yeah. Now you told me at one point that your husband Alejandro isn't allowed in America, but he can go to any other country in the world?
I mean, pretty much. I'm not sure the whole list of countries that are Mexicans are banned from, but there's a good amount of countries that he is more than welcome to go to. So we are going to use this as an opportunity, if he's deported, to travel to places that we've always dreamed of. But it just sucks that he can't come here. I mean, he's not welcome here.
He's welcome in France. He's welcome in Germany. He's welcome in England. He's welcome in Ireland. He's welcome in.
And what's the difference? To me, it's like, okay, if he's loved and welcomed there, why is he not? Can he not be loved and welcomed here?
Yeah. When you put it in those terms, it seems very interesting, right? You can go to Mexico. You could move, but I guess you could move to France or England or Ireland, and the both of you could be immigrants together, I guess, and somehow get legal in some of these other countries, but you couldn't get him legal here in this country. Janie, what has changed in your mind? Tell people what do you want people to know from this interview? What do you want them to take away from this? What do you want them to understand about your plight?
I think one of the biggest things is, even if you have vastly different views, to really try to ask yourself, how can I care more for my neighbors and the people around me, even who are immigrants and have vastly different stories than you might, and try to understand the why behind why they came here. It's probably not as black and white as one may think. And so I think learning and just delving a little deeper into knowing someone's story and choosing to love like Jesus would have loved, and not just, turning a blind eye, saying, talk to the hand and don't come near me. I feel like that's what this country is doing, and it's sad, but just to, ask more questions, learn about your neighbor, even if they're different.
It's interesting because the story of immigration here in America, right? I mean, no one was living the high life in Germany and said, "Oh, let's move to America," right? It was the person who couldn't get a job. It was the Irishman who couldn't find food, right? It was the German who who couldn't do anything, so they looked for a better life, and they got in a boat and they came to America and they started all over again. Right, whether it's in the 18th century, the 19th century, the 20th century, the 21st century, right? The countries might be different, but the stories are vastly similar.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. Janie, somebody's listening to this and saying to you, hey, I'm sorry for your plight, but you knew what you were getting into. You knew you married a man who was not in this country illegally, and I really don't have any sympathy for you because this is a problem of your own making, and you shouldn't have hired you shouldn't have married an undocumented worker in the first place. What do you say to that person?
There's many choice words to say, but how I would love that person in that question, I would probably, go back to there is a difference between being like, is a law, do you view morality as like following the law or not? Or would you learn more about like why they crossed or why someone chose to do it? Because if you knew Alejandro's story, I believe he did the more moral thing, which is to avoid joining that drug cartel and coming across to make a better future for himself and not have to go kill people and make more money that way. And so there, like, some laws I don't think have that moral standard. So yeah, I think I just see a little more past that. And yes, people can have say, sucks for you guys, you chose to do this. But at the same time, I chose to love and look past that, just black and white, you broke the law. And I chose to go into this, yes, but I believed something beautiful could happen from it. And beauty is still happening from this. And God is going to make our future beautiful, even with this hardship, even with moving, even with being deported.
Tell me about Alejandro. What kind of guy is he? Tell me, give us a little sense of what your husband is like.
Oh, okay. So Alejandro is the most hardworking man you will ever meet. He will work 3 jobs if I let him. He wants to provide for his family so badly and give us a comfortable life. He's loyal beyond words, and he is such the biggest family man, devout Christian, and he loves food. He's a foodie. He loves to talk your ear off about cars. That's probably his biggest passion. And he's a silly guy. He's on the floor playing with his girls, playing, I don't know what we play with here, everything under the sun. Little people, doll houses, princesses. He is such a, all around family guy, best father ever. And so that's why it tears me apart that he's away from us, because he's missing these special moments with his girls right now that it just tears his heart apart to be away from this right now.
The other thing, too, if he was arrested in October, so you have November, December, so he's been away from you for 2 months, yep. And then you're saying there's still going to be a number of months before the whole legal process plays out. He's sitting in jail for months. It's almost like torture, right? I mean, send him back. Why torture him to go through this process when, as you said, it's more or less of a foregone conclusion, right? I mean, that's pouring salt in the wound in a sense.
Yeah, I mean, well, we are still. I believe God is a God of miracles, and there is a miracle that we are praying for, and that's for him to stay and charges to be dropped. However, I do think you're right, and I think they're wasting money on a good guy who is not one of the worst of the worst, and they could have very well, in the beginning, 1 week after him being arrested, be like, okay, let's put you on a plane with all the rest of these guys, which they did not. So we don't have those questions completely answered, like why him? But this is we're in this period of agonizing waiting period, not totally knowing the end point yet. We know the likelihood of deportation, but there's still some prayers that we are holding fast to in this time.
So I'm sure you're trying to get a hold of anybody you can and talk to any lawyer you can, and using every connection you have and every ounce of energy you have trying to find some shred of something to get him to stay in this country. But how are you holding up with the children? Because it's got to be a roller coaster of a ride.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it is. I mean, I'm getting the taste of what it's like to be a single mom. I mean, yes, I'm married, but we are currently physically separated, and I'm having to take on this role of complete, total caring for kids, trying to figure out, okay, how are we going to make money now? taking girls to and from school, dealing with a baby, all these things. So it is overwhelming to me. I love being a mother, but it is overwhelming. And to not have the financial support that Alejandro gave us and help around the house, everything is on my shoulders. And then on top of it, dealing with the lawyers, dealing with trying to communicate with jail apps. I never thought I would learn that. What is it called? Talking on the radio and,
right.
All these things that I never thought I would have to do, but it is a priority. So I'm taking on so many things, but I'm also on the roller coaster of grief because I miss my husband, and he should not be where he is. I mean, he should be in his home. His home is not in Mexico anymore. His home is here. He has been more in the U.S. than he ever was in Mexico. And so it is, it's heartbreaking.
Janie Perez, mother of two, American citizen, 2 children, American citizens, whose husband sits in jail waiting to be deported. And she says she will go with him and leave the only home she's known to be with him because that's what the marriage bond says. Janie Perez, look, let's stay in touch. I'd love to hear how this, wish you all the best. You're in our prayers. Hang in there, and we thank you for what has to be a very difficult conversation to have on the radio, sharing your story with a bunch of strangers. But it is a story that is happening over and over again, and I think it's a important voice in the conversation. So, Janie Perez, hang in there. Thank you very much. You're in our prayers. Stay strong.
Thank you. Thank you.
Janie Perez is with us tonight. It's America at Night. Back in a moment.
America at Night with McGraw Milhaven, where the nation comes to talk. Coming to you from the heart of the nation, this is America at Night with McGraw Milhaven.
Hey, if you got a minute, you listen to that interview, you want to make a quick phone call, 1-844-2-McGraw, 1-844-262-4729. But, of course, we can certainly take phone calls in hour number 3. It's an interesting conversation to have because, I don't think we have, in this country, I don't think we discuss immigration the way we should. I think we use it as a blunt object. I think we use it as a political ploy. We use it as a political instrument. We use it to bash people over the head with it. But I don't think we actually have a conversation in this country about what we actually need workers for, right? We need workers in this country. What type of workers do we need? And let's set out an immigration course to bring those workers into the country, right? We brought the Chinese into the country to build the railroads. We brought the Irish into the country because we needed unskilled labor at the time. We needed to fight our wars. All sorts of reasons why, right? We brought in the Italians. We brought in the Germans. We brought in people from different walks of life. And yes, it was difficult to assimilate and so on and so forth. But right, I mean, it's the American way. And the argument where they say, we're all for immigration if you do it legally. In some ways, there is no legal process to get some of these people in. And here's the kicker. Here's the kicker. If Alejandro wanted to come into this country and go to med school, we allow him into this country to go to med school because we do. And so he would take a spot from an American who wanted to go to the med school, right? If he could play basketball and want to go to college in America, we could somehow figure a way to get him into college here and let him stay in the country. If he could throw a fastball 98 miles an hour, preferably from the left side, we would find a way for him to stay in the country. We just would. Don't kid yourself. We would. But because he doesn't have any of those skills, which all of those skills are taking jobs away from Americans, right? A place in the classroom, a place for the Minnesota Twins, right? Because he gets a job working in a construction site and in the back of a restaurant, somehow they're deemed unworthy of a job here. If he could throw a fastball 98 miles an hour, we'd give him a job. If he wanted to play soccer for a college team, we'd let him into the country. Heck, if he could play soccer for one of the pro teams here in America, we'd let him into the country. If he could become a kicker for a football team, the NFL always needs good kickers, so let's bring him into the country. Let's figure out a way to get him into the country. But a landscaper or just a hardworking young man who wants to better his life, who doesn't have a 98-mile-an-hour fastball or a wicked slider or a great left foot or a surgeon's hands, let's kick him out of the country. It kind of doesn't make any sense. Our immigration policy isn't really thought of. It's not a bunch of rocket scientists dealing with immigration in the 21st century, which is why it is so messed up. It's my two thoughts. We'll talk about it more in the in the hour number 3. Next hour, we're going to talk to a gentleman who is part of Our Republican Legacy. It's an organization that wants to take the Republican Party back to its Republican roots. We'll talk with him next hour. It's America at Night, and your executive director is Alex Hinton, back from a week in the Caribbean. Our engineer tonight is Richard Good. I'm McGraw Milhaven, and this is America at Night on Westwood One.
Westwood One presents America at Night. Here's your host, McGraw Milhaven.
Hey, we got a chance to stretch our legs. It's the week between Christmas and New Year's, and we get a chance to talk to some people we wouldn't normally get to talk to. So this hour, we look forward to checking in with Dr. Merrill Matthews. Dr. Merrill Matthews, you might have read about him or read him in The Hill. He's written for the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, Forbes, USA Today. You've also seen his work in the Washington Times, and newly minted as the Texas chair of an organization called Our Republican Legacy. Dr. Merrill Matthews, welcome to America at Night.
Well, thank you for having me.
First of all, I apologize. We had to cancel on you a couple of times, so I apologize for that, and thanks for being able to reschedule. Tell us what Our Republican Legacy is and what it does, and what do you do now that you're the Texas state chair?
Well, this was an organization started by former Senator John Danforth of Missouri last year. And what he was looking at, essentially, he was hoping to try to get back to basic Republican principles, conservative principles that have been sort of time-honored for a long time. And he felt that, I think, a lot of Republicans and conservatives have sort of drifted away from that and don't maybe necessarily remember those principles. And so he's highlighting that. A number of former members of Congress, Mike Pence and others are sort of signers on to the principles. But it's in essence to try to re-educate people about the basic principles that made America great, conservative principles like adherence to the Constitution, like respect and unity for others, free enterprise, the notion of peace through strength. So it's trying to just get those principles out there again and discussing it and make that part of the political discussion as we move towards the 2026 and then more importantly the 2028 elections.
Yeah, so you mentioned Senator Danforth. You mentioned Mike Pence is involved with this. The late Alan Simpson, senator from Wyoming, is a part of this. There's quite a number of the more traditional Republicans that want to get the Republican Party back to the more traditional Republican Party. It's funny because doing the show, I had a caller call me up a week or so ago and question me, what are you, a liberal or a conservative? And I answered him very honestly. I said, I don't know, because I don't know what it means to be one or the other anymore. And it seems like both parties are going through an identity crisis because I don't know what conservative is anymore.
I think you're absolutely right about that. Both parties are struggling to try to figure out who they are. Democrats have got a serious problem because the progressives in the party are the real energy in the party right now. They're sort of driving the agenda, and there's certainly a lot of traditional Democrats who feel like this is going way too far from me, but they don't have the energy right now. And of course, Donald Trump has been the energy in the Republican Party, both in 2016 and then again in 2024. But he won't be able to run again. So the question is, where do Republicans go now, and how do they craft a message that resonates with a free market economy, fiscal responsibility, traditional values, and something that an awful lot of Americans actually adhere to but aren't seeing much of right now?
Yeah. Dr. Merrill Matthews, our guest, the Texas chair. Let's start with something you are very familiar with and have written a lot about and talked about, and that is health insurance. We're having this argument again. We're having this debate again. Like so many debates, it's political, and we use it as a sledgehammer to beat the other party up. But where do you see this health insurance going? What do you make of the Affordable Care Act? Are there alternatives? Can they make it better? Can we fix it? Should we scrap it and start over again? As a doctor who lives in this world, what do you think?
Well, it's a good question because in the health policy world, we've typically said Republicans didn't get the health care gene. They never really understood it. It wasn't their constituents' issue. It was Democrats' issue. So I go back in this actually in the 1980s, but especially got involved in 1992 and 93 when Bill Clinton started pressing for reforming the healthcare system in the 1992 election. And of course, he won. He felt like in large part, reforming the healthcare system. And so they started trying to reform it. They were essentially going to put everybody into an HMO. Most people didn't know what that was then. I think they probably do now. But in 1993, in March of 93, Senator Phil Gramm from Texas had me in his office along with his health policy person. He said, I'm going to fight the Clinton healthcare plan, and we need to come up with a free market Republican alternative. And I want to do what we then called medical savings accounts. So I helped his staffer put together the first legislative element of medical savings accounts, which in 2003 became health savings accounts, which I suspect a lot of your listeners are familiar with. Those medical savings accounts actually passed in 96 and then became health savings accounts in 2003. But this has been the basis of what most Republicans want to do. The problem that we have, McGraw, in the healthcare system is the vast majority of cases when we go to the doctor, when we go to the hospital, when we go to the pharmacy, somebody else is paying the bill. And so you and I, as patients, as consumers, don't have any real reason to ask, where do I get value for my healthcare dollar? I just don't really care if somebody else is paying the bill. The health savings accounts were meant to provide money in an account, tax-free account for people, in the lower dollar, the routine expenditures, and then you had health insurance for the high dollar expenditures. But it was meant to say, here's money in an account that belongs to you. If you don't spend it, you get to keep it. And now I have an incentive to say, doctor, is a generic drug just as good as a brand name prescription for this? Because if so, it's coming out of my health savings account, and I want to make sure I'm getting the best value for my money. And that's the element that we're missing in the healthcare system. Obamacare went the other way. It tried to cover more people for more procedures, and so healthcare spending exploded under Obamacare. Republicans are trying to get us back. We'll see if they're able to do it, but they're trying to get us back to something that's a little more consumer friendly.
Yeah, no, it's a lot to dissect there, doctor, and a lot of truth in that, right? Healthcare has exploded. The argument with the Affordable Care Act is that, and they'll tell you, the more people who are covered, the lower the costs, right? If you're relatively healthy and insurance is affordable, sure, I'll get it just in case, right? But if you're elderly and sick, you really need it. And so the young pay for the old, right? And then the idea is that when the young get older, then the young, right? Sort of like Social Security. But if it's too expensive for the young people to buy, they won't buy it, thus making health insurance more expensive for the rest of us who really need it.
Right. And so one of the things when the Democrats passed the Affordable Care Act in 2010, they ignored every basic actuarial principle known to man. So what they did was they said, well, initially they said we want to charge young people the same as we charge older people. But older people tend to use a whole lot more care than young people. And that means young people would have to pay a lot more for the premium to sort of subsidize old people. They changed that a little bit, but not as much as they should. But they also realized, my goodness, what we're going to do here is if we're charging this much for insurance, young, healthy people are going to drop out of the system. So they imposed a mandate to try to force everybody to have health insurance. Congress eventually zeroed out that mandate. They didn't eliminate the mandate, but they made the penalty zero. So now there's no effective mandate in it anymore. And what they did when they created Obamacare, they essentially created a system that was going to encourage young, healthy people who were seeing their premiums rise to drop out of the system, try to find other kind of health insurance or something of that nature. And that's what we've seen over the past several years. And that means the pool gets smaller and sicker. It gets much more expensive. It's called adverse selection. We told Democrats this was going to happen back in 2010. In fact, you can go to 2013, and I had a piece in the Wall Street Journal explaining this is what's going to happen to the insurance premiums under the Obamacare plan. And they dismissed it, but that's exactly what happened. And the enhanced subsidies that they put on Obamacare, beginning in 2021, the Democrats did that. That sort of insulated people from the cost of the premiums and allowed them to just not see how fast premiums were rising. And of course, those enhanced subsidies are going away at the end of this year in just the next few days. And so they're being hit with the real cost of the insurance and with the fact that they ignored actuarial premiums, and people are screaming about it.
Dr. Merrill Matthews, our guest, he is newly appointed the Texas chair of Our Republican Legacy, a new organization, a new group of Republicans who are coming together and saying, hey, wait a minute, Reaganomics or Ronald Reagan wasn't such a bad idea after all. So we'll get into some of that and talk about some of the other things that are on the table. Dr. Merrill Matthews with us on America at Night. Stay right there. Back in a moment.
America at Night with McGraw Milhaven. Relax. You're listening to America at Night with McGraw Milhaven.
There's a new organization called Our Republican Legacy, and our guest this hour was newly appointed to the Texas state chair of that organization, Dr. Merrill Matthews. Doctor, let's change the subject and talk about tariffs, because there's, if anything, I guess, growing evidence, anecdotal evidence that the tariffs, the big companies are able to sort of handle it or navigate it in some way, shape, or form, but it's the smaller businesses that are taking it on the chin, and the smaller businesses are having a hard time with these tariffs. What do you see?
Oh, I think that's absolutely right. And you see that in the number of bankruptcies that have been occurring. But yes, the larger companies, initially, most of the larger companies decided they were going to eat the tariffs for a while in hopes that things would change and get better. And to some extent, that has happened. Smaller companies, in many cases, don't have the ability to do that. I was listening to a person the other day who had a small company that they sell Tonka trucks, and Tonka trucks, the parts were made in China, and they were put together in the United States. And he said, Trump hit them with China with 135% tariff initially, and he said we couldn't absorb that, and there's nothing we could do. So he had the company in China continue making the parts in hopes that the tariffs would be reduced on China. They were. Once they were reduced, then he was able to get the parts over. But we were going to have a Tonka truck problem for a while if that hadn't happened. But Trump has been so erratic on the tariffs that it's become really hard to sort of remember or know where we are on the tariffs. We know some countries have big tariffs, others have little or no tariffs, and that may change tomorrow or the next day. So it's been very, very difficult for companies who need stability to be able to make plans for the next year to be able to determine what to do.
Yeah, a lot of it is also, it's 19th century thinking in a 21st century world, right? I mean, things aren't made only in one place. Parts are made all over the world, and assembly is made all over the world. And so, what's American made anymore is very difficult to sort of determine. And so 15 different parts come from all over the world into whatever plant in the U.S., and it's made in America, but the parts are made outside of the supply chain. So it seems like the tariffs, it's a 19th century solution to a 21st century world.
I agree with that. And you can make a good case that companies should have been pulling out of China and doing whatever assembly or production they were doing in other countries like Vietnam. You could have made that case for a while. China's been a bit of a problem for some time. And a lot of companies were slow to start moving out. But yes, that's the biggest problem that we have right now is, I say the biggest problem. We have companies that have integrated and done things all over the world. And in some cases, that's what you want. I mean, there was a time, I don't know if it's still the case, where Buick was the most popular car in China. If Buick is the most popular car in China, GM wants to be building some Buicks in China, just as we like it when Toyota and Honda and Nissan build cars in the United States. So Caterpillar is a big seller in places that have a lot of agricultural work. And so they like to build manufacturing facilities in those countries. So yes, in some cases, we've put American companies in other countries to build. And sometimes they ship some of those parts back here. And in other cases, companies like Apple would have parts made in various countries, have them put together in either China or India, and then the finished piece would come back in the United States.
Seems like the farm industry has really, really not benefited from these tariffs. Not only are the input costs more expensive, but also when you talk about soybeans, right? The soybeans have sort of, China, even though they said they're going to start buying from the U.S., have been buying soybeans from other countries. The farmers really have taken the brunt of this tariff war, have they not?
Absolutely have. I listened to our farmers talking about it this morning because of they put their soybeans in silos, hoping that the tariff issue would be resolved. China has promised to buy some this coming year and more the next year, but that just actually takes China back to buying as much, because we were the largest supplier of China's soybeans before Trump hit them with tariffs. And with the tariffs, the Chinese decided to retaliate in their own way, in part by buying Brazilian soybeans, and it has put our farmers in a real tough position. Trump has promised to give our farmers $12 billion, but we don't want to be giving our farmers money. We want our farmers to be able to sell to other countries, but you have to be able to work with other countries in order for that to happen. It's not just us buying products from other countries. It's other countries that buy products from us.
Yeah, and that $12 billion, I mean, really, it's a drop in the bucket, right? I mean, it's not going to make the farmers whole. So it might be a Band-Aid, but it's certainly not going to solve the farmers' problems. And as you wrote in The Hill not too long ago, that farm bankruptcies have jumped in 2025, and they're higher than they've been in 2024 as well. Dr. Merrill Matthews is our guest. Hold that thought, Doctor. We're just getting started. We got another segment with you, and then we'll let you go enjoy the new year. Dr. Merrill Matthews is the Texas chair of a new organization called Our Republican Legacy. More with him in a moment. It's America at Night, McGraw Milhaven, and we'll take some phone calls later on in this hour. 1-844-2-McGraw, 1-844-262-4729. America at Night with McGraw Milhaven. Back in a moment.
This is America at Night with McGraw Milhaven. Relax. You're listening to America at Night with McGraw Milhaven.
Dr. Merrill Matthews is our guest. He's the Texas chair of an organization called Our Republican Legacy. You have read him in the Wall Street Journal. You've read him on The Hill, and he's our guest for a couple more minutes tonight. Dr. Merrill Matthews, let's talk immigration because you're in Texas, and it seems like there's some questions about the immigration in Texas, and that it's not as popular as it once was. They're starting to cut into the bone, if you will, and a lot of people are looking up and saying, "Hey, we're all for getting rid of the criminals, but we think you're going after some pretty reputable people." And it seems like there's a bit of a turning going on in Texas. What do you see? What do you hear?
I think that's fair. We are seeing news stories here in Texas that construction, especially new home construction, has slowed because they can't get the workers to be able to handle that, and people are concerned about going to work if ICE is going to show up. So we had a major immigration problem under Joe Biden. That was, I think, was one of the primary reasons why he lost the election. There are several reasons, but that was a major one. And President Trump has stepped up and is going to try to get the border under control. It looks like that has happened. And now, but there is some concern that they're going after too many people, or they aren't going after criminals first. And we'll just have to see how that plays out. But immigration is something we need. Immigrants in the United States to be able not just to grow the population, but also because of some of the work that needs to be done.
It is interesting that we use immigration as a political football, but we haven't really had any real immigration reform since, I guess Reagan was the last one, but we're really living under the rules of after World War II, which is comical. They all complain about it, but nobody wants to pass a law. If there was only a place where they could meet and come up with a new bill to sort of solve some of the problems, they don't want to fix the problem. They just want to sort of use it as a political foil.
I think that's the case and has been for the last several years, in part because, especially once Biden started letting so many people in, it so poisoned the debate out there that it's very, very difficult for any Republican to come up and say, we want to do immigration reform, because almost anything that a Republican proposes is then criticized by others as being amnesty. And today you don't want to be accused of amnesty. So I don't know how we solve this problem, because it has been that well has been so poisoned that almost nobody wants to take it on right now. And if you try to do something that gives people a certain amount of amnesty or something, it becomes very criticized, and I'm not sure a Republican can survive that running for office if they make any kind of major immigration reform proposal.
Yeah, again, we go back to the small business, right? If Elon Musk needs a coder from India, I'm sure he could probably get that person in this country, get him a work visa, and get him working. But the landscaper or the roofer or the construction guy who's trying to build an apartment building or trying to put a roof on or trying to get some people to mow some yards, I can't get those people in this country. And as a matter of fact, you're taking my people and sending them out of the country, and you're letting Elon Musk bring people into the country. It seems like it's backwards.
And I think that's right. And one of my neighbors has a lawn service, and he's told me how hard it is for him to get people here. He brings them in, I guess, mainly from Mexico, but he just has a lot of trouble bringing the people in, and he needs those for his business. And as I said, construction has slowed down significantly in some places just because construction, yard work, restaurants are places where immigrants come in, both legal and illegal.
Yeah, and the fact that nobody wants to sort of look how political the bill was in Biden's last waning months, right? You had a lot of Republicans sign off on the bill, right? Tried and true immigration hardliners sign off on this bill, but it looked like it was giving Biden a leg up in the administration or in the election. So we don't want to do that. And so you were gonna have the Democrats take a hard vote. Now the Democrats would never give that to Trump. So realistically, not trying to use this as a political ploy, but I don't know if there's ever going to be enough support on either side to do what is right to solve the problem.
And let's just go back to Trump's first term. Twice he offered to Democrats, he said, give me the money for the border wall that I want to build, and I will legalize the DACA recipients, the Deferred Action for Childhood people. We've got 800,000 people here. Obama just sort of legalized them temporarily anyway. But Trump was willing to go ahead and provide a pathway to citizenship for them, and Democrats refused to do that. They would not fund the border wall in exchange for essentially legalizing or giving a pathway to citizenship to the DACA recipients.
Right. So neither party wants to give the party in power the votes to pass something to solve some of these problems. So that's why you find yourself being 50 years and not having any immigration policy to speak of.
And it's just so strange because in the late 1990s, early 2000s, Democrats were the ones who did not want immigrants coming in. Now they do want immigrants coming in, and it just made it politically impossible. And I've had people ask me, how do you see this? How do they work this out? And I'll tell you, McGraw, I just don't have a sense as to how you can work this out until maybe some time passes.
Yeah, it's become such a political football. What do you make of Marjorie Taylor Greene and that article in the New York Times this morning?
Oh, I saw that. Yes. Isn't that interesting? I'll tell you, I think when Trump leaves office, I think we're going to find out a lot of things that people say about him that were around him that we'll find out a lot more about it. But Marjorie Taylor Greene is thinking apparently about running for president, and she has broken off. She's not going to be MAGA. She wants to be America first, and we'll see what happens with that. I'm not optimistic she'll be able to get the Republican nomination, but it looks like that's what she's vying for, and she wants to try to separate herself from Trump for that.
Yeah. She, for those who didn't see, she's article in the New York Times, she was quoted saying, "I was just so naive," and she said she broke with Trump during the Charlie Kirk funeral when President Trump got up and said, "I hate my opponent," and very different than the words of Erica Kirk said that she forgives the man who shot her husband because that's what Christians believe. And then President Trump got up and said what he said, and Marjorie Taylor Greene said that was the straw that broke the camel's back. It's an interesting read in the New York Times about Marjorie Taylor Greene's break with MAGA. Doctor, we have a couple minutes left. I want to start where we finished, and that is the future of the Republican Party. It's interesting because Liz Cheney, right, was considered so very conservative that she was very much disliked by the Democrats and very much beloved by the Republicans. And now I bet you she could win a Democratic primary or two running for president, and she's a pariah within the Republican Party. We're really in a very strange place, are we not?
We are, and I don't know that we're going to see. We'll have to see how this changes, but we're beginning to see some Republicans begin to pull away and make some separation between them and the president, and that's necessary. McGraw, we need a Congress where Republicans in Congress can say, I disagree with your policy, Mr. President, and I'm not going to vote for it. We want to give you our best advice, but we're not going to do everything you want to do. And we need that. We're seeing a little bit of it now. We may see a lot more of it in the near future.
Also, the Republican Party today, I guess, has sort of abandoned all of their fiscal responsibility, right? It's almost laughable now to have a conservative talk about fiscal responsibility.
That's right, and that's one of our Republican legacy's principles that it wants to stress. And both Republicans and Democrats are big spenders. The difference is Republicans claim to feel bad about it, but they've been just as bad as Democrats.
Yeah, and we keep sending people to Washington who are going to rein in spending and drain the swamp. However, it doesn't really get drained, and the money keeps going up.
And nobody does anything about it. And now Trump is proposing $2,000 with some income limits for every adult out there. And then we've got the new program for $1,000 for every child who's born in America for the next 3 years. And I'm sitting to thinking we had a budget deficit of $1.7 trillion in 2025, and the CBO expects us to have similar budget deficits for the next 10 years. And I don't know where we're supposed to get that money. It's crazy to borrow money to hand money out to people.
Well, we're getting it from China, which I can't tell if China's our friend or our foe. It's right. It's one of these things where it's right. In one sentence, we don't mind China buying our debt. In the next sentence, we don't want them buying our farmland. So it kind of doesn't make any sense.
China has been scaling back on it. You're right that China has been one of our major funders. They've been scaling back. Japan has been investing. So we still have people who are countries who are willing to buy our debt, but that's not going to last forever, I don't think.
Yeah. Dr. Merrill Matthews, Texas chair of Our Republican Legacy. Thank you very much for your time tonight. Happy New Year, and I'm sure we'll be talking sometime down the future. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, McGraw.
You got it. Dr. Merrill Matthews, Texas chair of Our Republican Legacy. The website, if you want to find out more about that organization, it's called OurRepublicanLegacy.com. And it's a newer group, but as he mentioned, Vice President Mike Pence is involved with it. Former Senator John Danforth is involved with it. William Cohn, who was a Republican senator from Maine, I believe. Former Senator Alan Simpson, who I had a chance to interview a couple of times, who could not have been any nicer of a man and told great stories. All of these Republicans are sort of coalescing around the more traditional Republican legacy and trying to take back the party. So interesting conversation with Dr. Merrill Matthews. All right, it's America at Night. I'm McGraw Milhaven. Back in a moment.
Live from coast to coast, this is America at Night with McGraw Milhaven. Relax. You're listening to America at Night with McGraw Milhaven.
All right, open phones next hour. I got an by the way, while I'm thoroughly focused on the show, I am also focused on what may or may not be the football game tonight because I'm in my fantasy football championship game, and so I got both eyes focused on the show, but I may or may not have peeked at the score once in a while, but I just pulled ahead. Anyway, all right, so listen to this. We'll go to open phones next hour. Listen to this. This is interesting. In 1998, Bill Clinton, right, was in the middle of impeachment proceedings. Everybody still had a landline, and Titanic was the #1 movie of the year. Gallup and USA Today did a poll and asked 1,000 Americans their best predictions about the year 2025. 27 years. What do you think the world is going to be like in 2025? So asked Gallup and USA Today in 1998. Listen to this. So CNN's got a story. These predictions are now in the polling archives at the Roper Center at Cornell University. So listen to this. Predictions. This is kind of interesting. Some are spot on. Some, they're not even close. Listen to this. What Americans believed in 1998. Okay? What would happen by 2025? The emergence of a deadly new disease. 75% of Americans in 1998 said it. By 2025, we would have the emergence of a new deadly disease. Bingo! 74% said gay marriage would become commonplace. 69% said the country would elect a black president. 68% said physician-assisted suicide would be commonplace. I don't think that's the case. 67% said environmental catastrophe would have occurred. It depends. I mean, I don't know. There are environmental catastrophes. I don't know if one that we could point to is saying, okay, yes, right, like COVID-19, an emergence of a deadly disease, COVID-19. Here's where they're wrong. Country will elect a woman president. 66% in 1998 said, 66% of them said by 2025 we would have elected a female president. 64% said marijuana and cocaine would become commonplace. Marijuana is legal in lots of places. People would routinely live to 100 years old, 61%. 60% of the people said AIDS would be cured. It's not cured, but it is kept at bay through many different drugs. Here's a good one. Only 56% of Americans in 1998 thought most stores would be replaced by shopping on the internet. 52% said most people would do their jobs from home. I don't know if most people do their jobs from home, but a lot of people do their jobs at home. Here's what they got wrong. Cars will be largely replaced by mass transit, 38%. Okay, I don't know if that happens. Cloning humans will become commonplace. That's not happening. Most people will be self-employed, 34% said that. Space travel will become ordinary. That hasn't happened. And humans will have made or received contact with alien life forms. 25% said that would happen by 2025. So some of those are widely wrong and widely right. This is kind of interesting, I thought. Right? But 75% of Americans in 1998 thought that there would be a deadly disease by 2025. So they got some things right, some things wrong. Listen to this, though. Most believed race relations would improve and that medical care would be more available if less affordable, which is interesting. But here's the kicker, according to this CNN story. Gallup, of course, still polling today. And in the fall of 1998, with the impeachment trial going on, everybody having landlines, no one's ever heard of the iPhone, no one ever heard of social media. In the fall of 1998, 60% of Americans said they were satisfied with the way things were going in the United States. 60% of Americans in 1998 said they were satisfied with the way things were going in the United States. Today, Gallup has asked that same question. In 1998, it was 60%. Today, that number stands at 24%. So the iPhone and social media hasn't made us any more happier than we were in 1998, when 60% of us said they were satisfied with the way things were going. Today, just 24% of us say things are going right. Stay right there. We've got open phones straight ahead on a Monday night. Nice and slow, relaxing, stretch our legs, have a little fun. Next hour will be all open phones. Stay right there. Our executive director is Alex Hinton. He's back after a week lounging somewhere in the Mediterranean. Our engineer tonight is Richard Good. I'm McGraw Milhaven. This is America at Night on Westwood One.
Westwood One presents America at Night. Here's your host, McGraw Milhaven.
All right, it's hour number 3, Monday night. It is, what's the official day, right? It's, the 29th. Holy mackerel, 2025. By the way, if you really want to be freaked out, 25% of the 21st century is officially over. Think about that for a second. The 25% of the 21st century. What happened to Y2K? Now we're going to 2026. We are currently living in the future. Anyway, phone numbers are as follows: 1-844-2-McGraw, 1-844-262-4729. The hour is all yours. Whatever you want to talk about, we can stretch our legs, have a little fun, talk about something we talked about earlier in the night, something that didn't come up, anything. We can go rogue. You can go rogue. We love first-time callers, and so let's go to the phones. We've got John in St. Louis. John, thanks for holding on through the break. Welcome to Open Phones, America at Night.
Hey, Happy New Year, McGraw. Hey, thanks.
Happy New Year, John.
Yeah, thank you. You know, this has been your shows are getting better. Like Cohen. I mean, they've been good, but I mean, that fellow Jonathan Cohen, he laid it out wonderfully on the gambling updates with the phone and the A generation.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And
No.
then,
well, that's the thing about the show. We get time to sort of stretch our legs and do a longer form interview. So that's what I really enjoy about it.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned with the polling, the CNN and all that, you have to know that that's all part of the puppet show. Maybe. What do you mean?
What do you mean? What do you mean?
This whole thing, man. Come on. Hey.
Wait. What, the polling from 1998? The Gallup poll from 1998?
I've looked at evidence. It's not all the evidence has been scrubbed, and you can infer some things. And I do have a different perspective. Well, when I was a kid, they wanted to send me to Vietnam, and I asked my dad. I used to read the paper. I sold it on the corner, and I was distressed because we had brought up Catholic, and I didn't want to go kill anybody on the other side of the world. So I asked my dad. He wasn't Catholic, but he was Christian, and I said, "This is about the money, isn't it?" And he goes, "Oh yeah." He told me. He showed me. It's endless. Power abhors a vacuum, and there's more vacuum cleaners than ever since the Industrial Revolution.
I don't understand. What are you questioning that Gallup did this poll in 1998?
I'm not questioning, buddy. I'm telling you, you can do some research, or some of your friends that you trust, like the Georgia Guidestones, another part of the puppet show. Did Ted Turner put them up or pay for it? I don't know. It doesn't matter. But these all these covert. When we were kids, there was a magazine, Spy versus Spy was like a comic book.
Yeah, it was on Mad Magazine.
It was kind of funny. I didn't look at it much, but I got the concept. And then most of Hollywood is often going to. A lot of the. By the way, there's no aliens. This is demonic activity. Aliens is just another. It's a canard. It's a falsehood. There is, and the way the stuff moves across the sky quickly, that's electromagnetic, and they've tapped into some of the. That's why That's why you see some of these ships go into these underground caves and all, because there's some magnetics that we don't know how it works, but that's a reasonable explanation from reasonable people, and that's why it's kept secret.
John, anything else?
There's a lot of stuff I could mention, but the Clinton thing. The Clinton thing is,
What Clinton thing? What Clinton thing? What Clinton thing?
Oh, that whole. Remember when I don't know if you remember when he signed the NAFTA.
Yes.
That's when I knew that.
That's when you knew what?
You can't trust any of these guys. He sent all those jobs. He helped the Rust Belt to rust. He sent them out south of the border. And when Nixon took us off the gold standard. I was like, 72 or 3. I was like 22 or 3. I was surprised then, and I didn't even really follow much of it. But I recognized that as like, that was major. And none of the adults
John, I got to go. You're all over the board.
Well, okay, good luck.
You're all over the board. No, thank you. I appreciate the phone call. Call me back. Call me back and try and – you're everywhere tonight. You're so excited. I get it. But I don't – there wasn't a real thought in there anywhere. I mean, NAFTA, okay, I guess. But anyway, John, I appreciate the phone call. Now that John's gone, we have an open line for you, 1-844-2-McGraw, 1-844-262-4729. Let's go to another John, this time in Chicago. John, in Chicago, welcome to America at Night.
Hi, thanks for taking my call. I really appreciate it. I love listening to your show.
Thanks.
On this, I wanted to talk to you about this immigration issue. On this immigration issue, I think a lot of us listening to the radio and a lot of people are just, well, I think the best thing we can do is just take the emotion out of it. There is a law, and I think the main reason why we have this law is for the safety of the general public in our country. We need to know, bottom line, who is in our country.
I think everyone agrees with that.
Safeties.
Yeah, everyone agrees with that.
Right. And when people cross the border and we don't know it and we leave them in our country, there are a lot of people we have to keep in mind that are following the rules and coming in the correct way. And what incentive is there to come in the correct way if we're letting people come in an incorrect way and we don't know who's in our country for the safety of all the citizens of our? And I know a lot of people
I don't think anybody disagrees with that. I mean, liberal, conservative, progressive. I don't think anybody disagrees with that. Nobody wants. Nobody wants just random people when we don't know who's in the country. But again, keeping the emotions out of it. What good is a border locked up on the southern border when you had the 9/11 hijackers come in from the north? Right. So
well,
I mean,
what I'm talking about is
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
No, what I was talking about is the border in general. I'm not discussing whether it's north or south. The border in general has to be enforced.
But everybody agrees. I think most logical. Let me say that most logical people, regardless of your party affiliation, would agree that we need some sort of immigration reform and some sort of immigration policies that will work for the 21st century. Because you're right, we need to know who's in the country, but we also need workers in this country. We need all sorts of workers for this. We need landscapers, we need construction workers, we need doctors, we need lawyers, we need police officers. We have a population problem in this country that's not being solved anytime soon, and we need workers. And so we need to come together and figure out. And we need people to to sort of handpick our crops, because not all crops are picked by machines. We need humans to do these things, and they're just not there. And we need people at meatpacking plants, and so we need to figure out a way to bring these people in and bring in people, vet them, make them legal, and then allow them the chance at the American dream. I don't know why that's so controversial.
That's really not controversial. Decades ago, we did that. We did that, like you said, with the Irish, with the Italians, different people from different parts of the world that had different types of talents to come in to help our country, though.
Yeah.
They came in and were making our country better for us, and we knew who was coming in our country that way because they were coming in the correct way, and we invited them in, basically. But not the way they're coming in illegally, because they're a burden on the taxes. And like in my
that's not true. That's not true. Well, that's not true. They're not a burden on the taxpayer. They're just not.
Well,
they're just not because look, there's a billion different ways, right? There's a billion different ways people come into this country, but oftentimes they come into this country. Let's say they cross the Rio Grande River. The first thing they do is they try and find a representative to give themselves up to set a court date. They set the court date, then they're free. This is how it works. Then they're free to roam around the country until their court date comes up. They're given a tax ID number, they're giving a work permit, and so they're allowed to work until they are determined 3-4 years from now whether or not they have some type of status as a refugee or persecuted in a different land. That's ridiculous. That is a ridiculous way to run a country. We can't change it because nobody wants to change the law. So Democrats won't help Republicans change it. Republicans won't help Democrats change it. So we're stuck with these laws that were written after World War II.
I live near Chicago. They pay our Chicago budget. We can't even make a budget because we're paying so much for protecting these people from being even deported into another country. And it all comes out of our taxes and our city budget.
Well,
I mean, we're at a deficit because we're paying for that. We're not paying for homeless people or homeless veterans and other people. We're paying money for people that came in over the border illegally.
Well, you have to you have to. They're allowed due process.
Well, they don't show up for 4 years when that court date is, most of them.
No, actually, most of them do.
They don't show up, and then they hide.
Actually, that's not true. Most of them do. Most of them do.
Well,
most of them, a lot. Look. Our country gives undocumented workers tax ID numbers to pay taxes. They give them work permits to work. Many of them sign up. Many of them want to pay taxes because they think if they pay taxes, when their number comes up, they'll be easier for them to get some type of legal status. Not to mention, they're actually being hired. So right, they're obviously needed in this country because somebody's hiring them. Because
they're not paying them the right wages. They're paying them under minimum wage.
Well, I don't know about that, but they are being they're being hired. So we clearly, would you agree we need workers?
I don't know which workers we need and what we don't need. That's really
seriously, do you think a 16-year-old who's playing 16-year-old American kid is going to get on a roof and fix your roof the next time a storm comes through?
I think there's enough people, though, to do this a legal way so we know who's in our country. That was my bottom line. Why I called me. I just want to know.
I agree with you.
I think there's a way we can do that. And by letting people in and harboring them in some cities and some states that say they're going to protect these people, and they are housing them and they're paying for them to live places and they're giving them medical and everything else, and it's based on the burden of the taxpayers. And they're not, like I said before, when you said that people come in from other countries, they did decades ago to help us in certain areas. They did that, and they weren't a burden on the country. They actually made the country better for coming over into our country.
But we are throwing out people who are here, who are contributing, who aren't on the public dole. We're throwing those people out of the country now.
But if they came here illegally, we wouldn't have done that.
Well, granted, how do you want to solve the problem?
Follow the law. It's not that hard. That's why I said we need to take the emotion out of this and follow the law.
Well, okay, follow. Okay, got it. John, I thank you for the phone call. You got it. I appreciate the calmness of the conversation. Yes, follow the law. Follow the law. What do we got? 1-844-2-McGraw, 1-844-262-4729. America at Night. More open phones straight ahead. Tony in Montreal, you'll be first up when we come back. Plus, we have a line open for you. 1-844-2-McGraw. America at Night. Back in a moment.
Join the conversation. Call 844-2-McGraw. America at Night with McGraw Milhaven. Join the conversation. Call 844-2-McGraw. America at Night with McGraw Milhaven.
Let's go right to the phones here. We'll get Tony in Montreal. Tony, welcome to America at Night.
How you doing? How are you?
All right, great. Tony, thanks for checking in.
Listen, what I'm worried about in Canada or the United States or anywhere is government corruption, whether it's Democrat or it's the Liberal Party of Canada or the Conservative Party of Canada, the corruption seems to be incipient, if that's the word. It's entrenched, and it doesn't seem like anyone cares, McGraw. And about a month ago, I mentioned that the Minnesota area was being, I guess they were being outed for their corruption or fraud through the system, and that taxpayer fraud, which is it's not coming out of nowhere, it's just coming out of people's pockets. And a YouTuber, a kid that's 23 years old, exposed $110 million worth of fraud in one day, and all of a sudden he gets 80 million hits, and the federal government is now investigating, and all of these departments, whether it's FBI, whatever. Why did it take a YouTuber that's 23 years old to do this? And why didn't Waltz discover this? Whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, aren't you interested in having efficiency?
Well, hold on a second. Hold on a second. I saw that video, and I knew this was probably going to come up. So we did. Do we know when that guy took that video?
Yeah, it was on this weekend. It happened 2 or 3 days ago.
Well, I mean, it wasn't 2 or 3 days ago.
I'm not here.
No. First of all, the fraud in Minnesota was exposed by Merrick Garland back in 20 whatever it was, right? I mean, so he was the first one to sort of call foul on this, and a whole bunch of people have gone to jail over it. And is this now a new sort of offshoot of that? Maybe, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I'm confused. I'm confused by the video because it was a daycare, right? It was a daycare,
right?
And nobody was at the daycare 2 or 3 days ago. Oh, wasn't it closed for Christmas?
No. Hang on. Let's be serious about this. This is the issue. Let's talk numbers. We're talking about CCAP. Those are the funds, CCAP funds, and in the biannual Minnesota budget, they were up in the black $18 billion. And within 2 years, they were minus $6 billion. That's a difference of $24 billion to the red. $24 billion down. Whether Merrick Garland or Joe Kennedy or McGraw or myself discover the fraud, it's not discovering the fraud. It's doing something and executing and going after the perpetual fraud. And I don't care if it's in Minnesota. Hang on,
I'm out of time. Tony, I can't let you finish. I'm out of time. I got to go to a break. Aren't they bringing those people to justice? Aren't a whole bunch of people in jail or pleading guilty or up on charges? I mean, isn't that sort of the process that's actually happening? America at Night, back in a moment.
What's on your mind? Call 844-2-McGraw and be a part of America at Night with McGraw Milhaven.
Hey, it's America at Night on a Monday night. We'll be here tomorrow night, Tuesday, and then we're going to take off for New Year's Eve and then New Year's Day, and then we're back on Friday. And then we're back in 2026, and we're going to take January by storm. So we're working hard to bring you interesting guests and great topics and everything else. So we look forward to it, and we thank you for sticking around. Let's go to, I believe Kevin is in Granite City, Illinois. Kevin, welcome to America at Night and Open Phones.
Hi, good evening, McGraw. First-time caller. I've got a question for you outside of current events. I wanted to ask you if you're still doing any woodworking any nowadays. Oh,
yeah. But first of all, Kevin, you can call back anytime because we can talk woodworking all you want. So I having a 5-year-old, one does not get to the wood shop as much as one would like.
Agreed.
But I have some plans. There's a book. She wants a bunk bed, so I got that in the plans.
Very nice.
And there's a couple of other things around the house that I'm certainly thinking about taking on. But
Sure.
No, I not as much as I used to, but I still read all the magazines and I still watch and I still talk about it all the time. But no, time in the shop is very rare and very valuable to me.
Well, that's great. If you got time for a quick story, I just wanted to tell you a couple of years ago, my dad had a walnut tree cut down in his backyard, been growing there for probably 80 to 100 years. So I paid a guy from the Facebook marketplaces to come out to the house and mill the tree on the property.
Yeah.
And I collected several hundred, maybe even a couple thousand board feet of beautiful black walnut grown in Baldwin, Missouri. And I milled it all up and shipped it to my house in Granite City. And I plan on building a dining room table that hopefully will be in my family for generations in the yard that I grew up in as a kid 45 years ago. So
that is a fantastic story. So you're a woodworker, a weekend warrior, or are you a professional?
No, just a weekend warrior, self-taught from YouTube and Facebook groups, and learning and watching videos.
What kind of dining room table do you want to make?
You know, I just want something big enough to fit 6 people. Don't want it too big, too bulky, but I just hope to keep it in my family and to kind of serve. I'm sure it'll outlive me and my next generation. So
yeah, no, there is. First of all, I'm sure you have enough wood. If that big tree, but people don't realize how much wood is needed for a chair or a table. I mean, you're going to need a lot of wood. Now, how long have you dried it out for?
I've been sitting in the garage for about 2 years, and I got the moisture content down to about 6 or 7%.
Perfect.
And to your point, too, people don't understand the value of the wood and how much it takes. The guy that milled it for me said that he'd have come and cut it down for free. My dad paid an arborist to cut it down a couple $1,000s, but walnut, cherry, oak, some of those expensive hardwoods, there's a lot of people out there that'll come to your property and cut those trees down for you for free for that lumber, and it goes to a good purpose, too.
Yeah, no, those are right. As a matter of fact, you're in the area. When a couple years ago there was a tornado that went through North County up in St. Louis, they took all those trees that fell, and they turned Urban Chestnuts, a local bar in town. They turned all of that wood into the tables and the booths at Urban Chestnut. Yeah,
that's awesome.
And as a matter of fact, the ash tree and the ash borer, right, is sort of ruining all the ash trees all across America. At the Arts Grounds, they took down all the ash trees, and they, for whatever reason, they wouldn't sell it. They wouldn't give it away for insurance purposes or whatever. But I was able to get my hands on a couple of blocks, and I want, believe it or not, I want to make bow ties out of these blocks from the ash trees that grew on the Arts Grounds. So
awesome.
Someday I will. Hey, Kevin, when you finish the table, call back and let me hear all about it.
Sounds good, McGraw. Good talking to you.
All right.
Take care.
Keep all your fingers, too. All right. There you go. Talk a little woodworking with Kevin in Granite City. Gil in San Antonio. Gil, welcome to America at Night.
Yes, McGraw. At the present time, I'm a patient at the Veterans Hospital here. I'm going to have a surgical procedure tomorrow. So that shows you what a big fan I am.
Well, first of all, good luck tomorrow. We'll say a little prayer for you.
Oh, thank you. I wanted to tell a Jim Bohannon Christmas story, if I could.
Sure, go ahead.
Two things. He and I were both Santa Clauses. Him here in the States, and me when I was living in the Philippines, I was a professional Santa Claus. He and I would talk about that. But back in 1967, he was in Vietnam, and he was in the audience of Bob Hope's Christmas show that year, and it's on YouTube. You can see the show. You don't see Jim.
So Jim was a soldier. Jim was a serviceman. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. But he tells a story that he wrote Bob Hope a letter criticizing his humor, saying it was very untimely that the GIs in the audience didn't understand the Hope and Crosby jokes that his writers had prepared. And Bob Hope actually answered the letter. And Jim would talk about that occasionally. But if you want to see on YouTube the Bob Hope Christmas show from 1967, the Christmas show in Saigon was where Jim was part of the audience.
All right, so let me ask you this question: What did Bob Hope's letter say back to Jim Bohannon? Was it I appreciate the criticism, it's valid, or thank you very much, or was it a form letter, or what was it? What was it?
No, it was not a form letter, and it was appreciative of his criticism, and he had mentioned that. But Bob Hope lived to be 100 years old.
Yeah.
But he would go out and do these USO shows.
Oh, sure, yeah. No, he was well known for it. I love the fact that Jim wrote him a letter, though. That's a great story. Hey, that's a great story. Hey, Gil, look, thank you for your service. Take care of yourself. And thanks for listening on what has to be a very awful night for you as you're getting ready for surgery. But we'll keep you in our prayers. Good luck.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Good night.
Gil in San Antonio. Let's go to Jay in Newburgh, Indiana. Jay, welcome to America at Night.
Hey, McGraw. Great show tonight. Hope you have a happy new year. And hope you have a good
right
Christmas.
Back at you. Yeah, it was a great Christmas. All
hey,
was
listen,
good.
I got to disagree. Pardon?
No, go ahead.
I got to disagree with you just a little bit when you said everybody wants to take care of the border crisis. You know, I sat for 4 years and watched Joe Biden let about 250,000 people come across the border in convoy practically for 4 years. And he had Kamala Harris as border czar, and she couldn't even find the border. Okay? The FBI says we have over 14,000 known terrorists in this country. We've got Somalians in Minnesota and Ohio pocketing billions of dollars, sending some of it back to Somalia to fund terrorism. I think enough is enough. Your previous caller, John, had the right idea. We've got plenty of laws on the books. Take the emotion out of it. Enforce the law.
Well, that's, Jay, first of all, there was a great article a couple weeks ago, I think it was the New York Times, about how Biden team tried to get him to focus on the immigration, and he just refused. And everyone agrees that's probably one of the single reasons why he lost the election, because he didn't react fast enough to the crisis at the border. So that's one. Two, many of these people are following the law. They're coming to this country and asking for asylum, and that's how you do it. The law says if you get to this country and you knock on our door, we're supposed to give you a hearing for asylum. Now, the courts are so backed up that what they're doing is they're giving you a pass to roam around the country until your court date comes up, which might be 2 or 3 years. Now, we can all agree that's ridiculous. However, that is the law. We have to change the law. We have to update the law for the 21st century. Nobody wants to do that. And so whatever Trump does through executive fiat is going to be changed by the next guy, and the next guy is going to be changed by the next guy, and nothing's ever going to be solved because nobody wants to change the law to fit immigration for the 21st century. That's why it's such a mess. Jay, I thank you for your phone call. Thanks for checking in. As always, Merry Christmas. Happy New Year to you, too. All right, it's 10. No, I'll check that. It's open phones. 1-844-2-McGraw. 1-844-262-4729. Also, I know this Minnesota thing is getting a lot of attention. And I was doing a little research on this tonight. And it's an old story. Back in 2022, Merrick Garland, when he was head of the Justice Department, right, when he was attorney general, found out that there were a group of Somalis who were, I don't know how they all got, one person brought in another person, and all of a sudden, right, they were swindling the federal government and the state out of millions of dollars. And they got busted, and they got caught. And varying degrees of criminality. And so many of them went to jail. I mean, we're talking 50, 60, 70 of these people went to jail. And then recently, the last day or two, this guy goes to this daycare and knocks on the door, and all of a sudden the daycares aren't open. And this is another example of taxpayer dollars going to, heck in a handbasket. That may be true, but I mean, was it Christmas that this daycare wasn't open? Was it at 5 o'clock after all the kids had left and gone? What? There's a lot of questions to some random person just knocking on a daycare. What time was it? Where was it? And is now the daycares involved with this? Maybe. But I'm a little suspect of this video. I'd like a little more independent verification than just some random guy on social media knocking on a door saying, oh, look, clearly, this daycare is stealing federal dollars. Maybe, but I'd like a little more, especially today when I don't trust anybody. Right? We all should have a healthy dose of skepticism. I don't even trust it's me when I get up in the morning. I have to check my driver's license in my wallet to make sure it's me. That's how little I trust anybody today. So some random guy on YouTube or social media all of a sudden posts a video, and because it sort of fits a narrative, all of a sudden people believe it. If you're stealing money, yeah, you should definitely go to jail. And again, the group of Somalis, I'm not so sure a group of Somalis somehow proves that immigration's bad. It proves that those people, many of them, either are American citizens with Somali ancestry or have been naturalized. So they're in this country legally. And, yeah, they got caught up in a crime spree. And, yeah, they're going to go to jail. And, yeah, they should. And throw the book at them. But then to assume every single Somali or every single immigrant is now dirty because of this story in Minnesota kind of doesn't make any sense. But again, that's the radioactive nature of news today, right? So anyway, all right, we'll take a break. 1-844-2-McGraw, 1-844-262-4729. Actually, you know what? Let's stay here. Let's go to Gary in Birmingham, Alabama. Gary, welcome to America at Night.
Yes, I listened to your conversation about immigration. You sound like a typical Democrat. You're taking up for wrongdoing. You're taking up for wrongdoing. The laws are the laws. You cannot come into this country. No other country in the world would allow people to come into that country the way Joe Biden and the Democrats did it. It is wrong. It is convoluted. It's costing us billions of dollars. I don't care how you shape it, how you dress it up, how you flare your words. It's against the law. They talked about Trump. Hold on
a second. Gary. When you break the law, I agree with you. The law is being broken. But coming into this country, seeking asylum and asking for an asylum hearing is the way the law is written. So I don't know what you're getting mad at me for. I'm just pointing out that there are many people who have done this, and that's the actual law, and the law needs to be changed.
Listen, what you're doing is you're trying to parse words. You cannot come into this country and break the law to get here. That's incorrect.
I agree with you. I agree. Hey, whoa, Gary, stop yelling. Gary, I agree with you. When you cross the Rio Grande, okay, yeah, and you don't seek asylum, yeah, you're breaking the law. But the law also states that you can seek asylum in this country. And if you get to this country, you can seek asylum, and you deserve a hearing. That's what the law says. Don't yell at me for me reciting the law. If you want them to follow the law, that's what they're doing. That is the law of the land.
You're telling me we've estimated 10 to 20 million people come to this country illegal, and we're going to we give them food stamps, we give them free money, we give them free housing, and they're doing everything under the sun that they want to do.
Sir, Gary, thank you for the phone call, Gary. You're often you're espousing things that you're insinuating every single person came in the illegal. That's not true. The number one way people are in this country illegally, they overstay their visas. Again, don't yell at me. That's just the facts. We need to change the laws in this country to make it work for the United States of America. And I think we can both agree that currently the current laws don't work for America. Gary,
no,
give me a hug, man.
Gary,
I can't. Stop yelling, Gary. Come here. Give me a hug. Relax. Calm down. I'm short on time. Thank you for the phone call. Call back some other time. We can continue the conversation. America at Night, back in a moment.
America at Night with McGraw Milhaven. Happening in your world. Call 844-2-McGraw and be a part of America at Night with McGraw Milhaven.
That's going to do it for us. Our executive director is Alex Hinton. Our engineer tonight is Richard Good. I'm McGraw Milhaven. Thanks for joining us tonight. We'll see you tomorrow night. This is America at Night on Westwood One.